Okay, we are here. Today is Tuesday, February 26th. The time is 5:30. We are here as for the regular meeting of the City Council. There is a quorum present, so I will call the meeting to order and we will move to executive session, and we will see you shortly. Hello. We adjourned from executive session at 6:02 and will be starting work session here momentarily. Please join us in the back. Well, welcome everybody. We're glad to see such a full house. It's kind of fun. We like that. The time is 7:33 and we are all present. So I'll call the regular session to order. And to start off, we have Reverend Dr. Tom Palmer from First United Methodist Church to help us with the invocation. And then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray together. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this day that you have made. A day that was not promised to us, but you gave it as a gift. And so we thank you for the beauty of it and for the chance to be together here tonight. Lord, we thank you for our community. We thank you for those who have labored before us that we could experience all that we experience today. For the vision for the future, we give you thanks. And help us to live into that and live into what it is to be a community that you've called us to be. We pray, oh God, that you would bless those that work so hard behind the scenes, the city employees and those in the police and fire department, emergency services, all those who embody servant leadership in this community. We pray you bless them and bless their families. We thank you for those that serve on the city council and pray your grace would be upon them and give them wisdom and discernment. And for all who present tonight and for the different items on the agenda, we pray for your abundant grace that this could be a night when we celebrate what you are doing here and you're doing through your people. And so we pray that you would draw us closer to you and to one another, that we might be a community of justice and peace and compassion and all that embodies your kingdom. And we pray all this in your name. Amen.
Our next item is a celebration. So, will the girls cross country team please come forward, and with coach and principal, please come forward down here. I was giving her a hard time. She's wearing the wrong color. No apologies. I wore the same color. Yeah, we did kind of match. We did kind of match. For those of you who are unaware, we have some state champions in our midst. Initially, what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn this over to Coach, and if you will introduce everyone, and then we'll talk about the proclamation. Including yourself, I'm sorry.
All right. My name is Nick Benton, and I'm the head cross-country coach at Coppell.
Hi, my name is Maddie Holsey. I'm a senior.
Natalie Fleming. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Rowan Hassman. I'm a senior.
I'm Shelby Spohr. I'm a junior.
I'm Chloe Hassman. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Morgan Cullen. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Rebecca Centeno. I'm a freshman.
I'm Nicole Jund. I'm a senior.
She's not. You can't even say you're one of those kind of seniors.
No. Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. Okay. Council, please consider this proclamation. Whereas the Coppell cross-country girls team won the 6A UIL state championship on November 3rd, 2018 for the first time in school history. And whereas the team and the coaches accomplished this achievement with great determination, leadership, and heart. Whereas the City Council wishes to recognize seniors Rowan Hassman, Maddie Holsey, I'm hoping I'm going to make these right, junior Shelby Spohr, sophomores Chloe Hassman, Natalie Fleming, Morgan Colin, and freshman Becca Centeno, close. And whereas Coppell is proud of these young athletes, not only for having a successful season, but for practicing good sportsmanship while maintaining focused determination, and a high level of intensity. And whereas the City Council wishes to give special recognition to Coach Nick Benton and the entire coaching staff for their leadership and vision. The City Council wishes to show appreciation for the Coppell cross-country girls team for the excellent manner for which they represent Coppell High School and the City of Coppell. Now, therefore, I, Karen Hunt, the mayor of the City of Coppell, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Coppell cross-country girls team. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Coppell to be affixed this 26th day of February 2019. Councilmember Yingling.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the proclamation honoring the Coppell girls cross-country team for winning the 6A UIL state championship.
Second by Councilmember Mays. All in favor?
Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Let's give them a round of applause. It's a great way for you seniors. It's a great way to have that in your pocket as you go off to your next adventure. And for your juniors and sophomores, that's a nice legacy to continue in the coming years. We'll see you next year about this time. Any problem with that? No? That's the plan. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just it's been a pleasure to chase you guys, and when I say chase, I mean literally chase you. I've run around the courses with these guys and known Coach Benton for a long time, and so just really been a pleasure to get to know these girls, and I do believe that there's a bright future in all of their lives, and so just so thankful that I get to be their principal, literally, not a senior with them, but I wish I was. So just thank you for letting me enjoy the ride with you and your families, because you guys truly have been a pleasure, and thank you for that. So, yeah, thank you for this.
Are the families in the audience? Please stand. Let's congratulate the families. Our meeting is only going to last about 4 hours, so we're just really glad you're here. Again, congratulations. I'm going to give this to you, Coach. And we appreciate that you guys took the time, because this is one of the really fun things we get to do, is to congratulate people for doing great things and putting a new championship on the signs that come into town. So we're excited about that. So congratulations.
And we do it at the beginning of the meeting so they don't have to wait around for those 4 hours, right?
Man.
But please, if you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is citizens' appearance. Persons wishing to speak on any matter other than an item that is scheduled for a public hearing on this agenda, sign on the list as it was on the table outside. Each speaker must give their name and address for the record, and each appearance is limited to 2 minutes. So, the first person that signed up is Julio Castaneda. Please come forward. And as a reminder, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Julio Castaneda. I live at 821 Bullock. First off, thanks for your service, City Council. Back in 2016, I spoke with Jamie and Mr. Garza from Streets about some issues that Bullock and Howell have had for years, which is the way that the water is moved through the blocks. It's stagnant. Most of the time, we keep water for 3 to 4 days after rains have subsided. In 2016, the plan was that in 2017, a comprehensive survey and engineering plan was going to be put out, and some input from the citizens of Bullock and how it would be taken into consideration as to how to move forward with a plan to improve the two blocks. 2017 went by. At the end of 2017, I met with Mr. Garza and Jamie again, and they were like, it's been tabled because of some budget issues. And 2018 came, and it's just gotten worse. Before, I would have water in our garage maybe once or twice a year. I think 2018 I had it half a dozen times. And what's worse is I could deal with the water in the garage, but water stays around our properties, so our houses have sunk several inches where the brick is actually touching the grass now, and it's detrimental to the stability of the house. We're sinking as the years go by. Recently, I had to pick up the house, which that's been done, but going forward, if the rainwater continues to be an issue, and some people even have sewer line issues because now our sewer lines have kind of lowered, so they don't have the same fall that they did 20, 30 years ago. That's not me. Some people on the block do have that, though. They back up a lot. I would just, the reason I'm doing this appearance is so that it could be brought to your attention that they recommended that it be brought to city council meetings. That's why I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The next person is Abel Bies. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Abel Bies, 833 Bullock Street. So I was just going to, I was addressing like the same thing as Mr. Julio was, just like the street under our 833 Bullock Street, on Bullock Street. It's just having some issues that we had for a while, like on our alley. Like when it rains, the water does stay there for a few days, and a lot of mosquitoes come in, especially like during the summer. It's like me and my sisters, we're like, my sisters more like play around, like, all the water, I guess, just, it kind of stinks too, like, I guess on the area, because it's like right next to our house. And it's just also like in the corner of the street, it's like just all cracked, so sometimes you like slip there and like the cars hit on those broken concrete on the road. It's just a few issues that we have there, and also with like the sewer, like where the water runs. I guess just it stays there for a long time, and it just races up to our properties. It just runs up. It's just most of the same issues that Mr. Julio had. Like, I address the same thing.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The next person is Mr. Joe Shirley. Welcome, Mr. Shirley.
Thank you. Joe Shirley, 582 Villawood Lane. This evening I wanted to continue what I spoke about at the public hearing on the Vision 2040. The Vision 2040 Executive Committee and the Future IQ worked very hard, and everything was done to get as many people as possible to participate, to give information, and so forth. And as at the public hearing, I want to contrast that about what was done for the Arts Center, which was nothing. It was all done in city council work sessions, CRDC meetings. By the time they had the one and only public hearing at the CRDC meeting, the city had already either obligated or spent $1.5 million on contractors. The public hearing was 5 days before the contractor manager at risk opened bids, so there was no opportunity for, no matter what anybody said, there was no opportunity to change anything. I did public information requests, the city, which revealed that the city never investigated the utilization of the existing facility before we started on this new one. There was no concern about how the existing facility was used. We now have a facility that I believe is going to cost an initial $21.6 million. I don't have any idea how much that is once you pay the interest off on it. Some of the documents show that there's going to be $200,000 or $300,000 a year operating loss, and I'm concerned about who's going to pay that. Is it going to be the property taxpayers? Is it going to be CRDC? The staff? Who's going to pay for their employee benefits and so forth? Who's going to pay for the utilities? Whatever. I asked that the 2040 plan not be presented until there were corrections made to it. The 2040 Executive Committee and David made some minor changes, but still not adequate to address the issue. I had asked them to
Mr. Shirley,
put in the vision.
Wrap it up, please?
Okay. Put in the vision that the City Council hold public hearings before they spend money on any new project. They said that was out of their bailiwick, and so I want to put that out to y'all. That's my vision. The City Council should have public hearings before this is done. You know, we should have had a public hearing to find out, do we need a new art center? Where do we want it? What should it look like?
Thank you, Mr. Shirley.
Thank you.
There is no one else who has signed up to speak. Can you please give your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Kim Wong, 512 Oak Crest Drive, and it's just down off Bethel School, up from the Duck Pond Bayou United Methodist Church. Tonight, I'm here to voice my support for the proposed Quick Trip. I'm kind of nervous speaking tonight, so I...
Sorry, that is a public hearing, so you need to wait for that particular item.
Okay, all right, cool, thank you very
much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. There is no one else that has signed up to speak, so let's move to the annual update for the North Texas Council of Governments Emergency Preparedness Activities. Welcome, Captain Simpkin. Well, welcome, Chief. How are you?
Just fine. How are you?
Very good.
Good evening. So the fire department, we're here tonight to give you an update on the North Texas Council of Governments. I'd like to introduce Captain Brad Simpkins. He's our emergency management coordinator for the city. He'll provide the update and answer any questions for you.
Thank you.
There we go. Good evening, Mayor. Council, now that maybe you can hear me. I'd like to give a brief background on the North Central Texas Council of Governments Emergency Preparedness Program and throw in the updates over the last year or so. The Emergency Preparedness Program came about following the events of 9/11. There was a domestic preparedness assessment that started prior to 9/11 that was pushed out by the federal government and was looking to evaluate the regional and local jurisdictional capabilities to respond to disasters and acts of terrorism. Those requirements and the following events of 9/11 prompted local government officials to request the formation of the Emergency Preparedness Program under the North Central Texas Council of Governments to better coordinate regional multi-jurisdictional preparedness efforts. The City of Coppell Public Safety and Emergency Management has primary responsibility for emergency preparedness within the city, but the regional efforts through the Council of Governments Emergency Preparedness and the regional coordination really amplify those efforts and support us a great deal. Coppell actively participates in the emergency preparedness programs and support the regional programs both monetarily through our annual dues and also through the time of staff members and the knowledge of staff members. This list shows the major responsibilities within the emergency preparedness program. One of those responsibilities, as you'll see here, is the development and coordination of acronyms. There's a lot of acronyms associated with the preparedness program and with the elements of those programs. So you can see with the names of some of those that it is important to throw in some acronyms every now and then. I'd like to run through a few of these programs and explain a little bit about those and some activities within that. The Emergency Preparedness Planning Council is comprised of volunteer local elected officials that serve the region in an advisory capacity within the council, reviewing and making recommendations on the elements of the emergency preparedness program. Those members of the council serve for 2-year terms, and they represent a cross-section of the region, both large and small jurisdictions. Coppell has been represented on that council through multiple members, with the most recent member being Council Member Nancy Yingling, who served up until this last year. The Regional Emergency Managers is a forum made up of emergency managers across the region, and it gives them the opportunity to collaborate and review regional projects, share ideas, and share some of that workload across the region. They meet every other month at the Council of Governments. We actively participate in that program. The Regional Emergency Preparedness Advisory Committee is the technical committee for the Emergency Preparedness Planning Council. It's comprised of subject matter experts from public safety disciplines across the region. One of the main functions of that group is to review and evaluate grant proposals as they come through and make recommendations to the EPPC. I've served on that committee multiple terms, but not currently. That takes us into the next group there, which is the Homeland Security Grant Program. That is a federal grant program that includes both the Urban Area Securities Initiative and the State Homeland Security Program. We receive both direct and indirect benefits from those programs. Under the Urban Area Security Initiative, there are 3 urban areas within the state of Texas that receive funding from that. And those include the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, collaboratively with Dallas-Fort Worth and Arlington, San Antonio, and Houston. We don't receive direct funding from that, but we get a lot of overflow benefits from the programs that go on targeting the larger urban areas. A lot of the projects and processes spill over, and we get benefit from that. The State Homeland Security Program, we've received funding in the past for both training and vehicles that have helped us in the past. The next one that I'd like to spend a little bit more time on is the collaborative and adaptive sensing of the atmosphere. That's a really good one to use the acronym of CASA for. To give you a little bit of information, that is a weather radar system. We actively participate with funding to support that system. Prior to the introduction of CASA, we depended solely on the NexRad radar site, primarily on that site, which is located about 30 miles away by Spinks Airport in Fort Worth. One of the challenges with being dependent on that single radar site is when it sends out a beam from its radar from 30 miles away, that radar beam has a slight upward tilt. By the time it gets to Coppell, it's about 1,900 feet in the air is the lowest that it can see. With severe weather coming in, tornadoes and things like that form well below 1,900 feet. So that kind of creates a gap for us. Another issue with depending solely on the NexRad radar is radar refreshes are between a 5 and 6 minute time period, which is an eternity when you're looking at warning decision making. The CASA radar system brought 7 radars into the Metroplex, so we're surrounded by radar sites in Arlington, Addison, Denton. Those radar sites provide a much lower slice when looking at the atmosphere, so we can see things almost down to ground level and a much more granular detail. And they also update in a 60-second refresh rate. So that's one of the very important coordination benefits that we get out of COG in addition to the grant funding and the other aspects of it. Next slide covers the working groups that fall under the Emergency Preparedness Program. These are made up mostly of discipline-specific groups within public safety, and I'm not going to run through all these, but I'm going to touch on a few of those. Coppell does participate in the majority of these, if not all of them. We do receive benefit from those. The first one that I want to touch on is the training and exercise program. This working group puts together the regional multi-jurisdictional exercises that happen, large-scale exercises that happen across the region, and the training that supports that. We'll actually be hosting about 80 emergency managers and public safety personnel tomorrow morning at Life Safety Park for the update on the multi-year training and exercise plan. The next item that I'd like to talk about is public education. That working group developed the Know What to Do materials. We receive either free or low-cost grant-funded materials through that program, and that was recently updated this last year using grant funds. And we still get that information and have that available for public education. The Emergency Management Working Group is the kind of where the rubber meets the road on all the emergency managers from across the region. It gives us the opportunity to work collaboratively and actually produce products. Some of the things include like the regional warning criteria for sounding the outdoor warning sirens. It allows us to collaborate across multiple jurisdictions so that we have the same criteria that go with that. The Public Works Emergency Response Team, when the public calls 911, they expect police and fire and EMS to show up. When police, fire, and EMS call 911, we want Public Works to show up. So the Public Works Emergency Response Team came about over the last few years, and it has 61 member agencies from across the region. We've recently joined that effort. It gives us the ability to provide surge capacity during disasters. For example, the city of Coppell, I believe, owns one rubber tire loader. If we have disaster debris from a tornado, that's not going to get us very far. But with the 61 agencies, we have immediate access to over 100 rubber tire loaders. So it's a force multiplier for us with that. Similarly, the Emergency Operations Center Support Team recently came into existence over the last 2 years. We participate actively in that. The picture on the right is actually from an EOC support team deployment. We have the capability within the EOC support team to deploy caches of equipment to support jurisdictions should their EOC be under-equipped or damaged. We can bring in and provide capability, both AV network communication capability, and we also have over 70 professional emergency managers that have agreed to respond to support those entities. The picture there on the right is from Hurricane Harvey. It was from the exotic location that I had the opportunity to deploy to. That is the regional state EOC in Garland. So I made it all the way down there, even though we had staff deployed down to the coast and Beaumont and all kinds of different locations. But I couldn't come up with any pictures that I was actually in, so I opted for a picture of my workstation. I was actually acting as the air support branch director for the evacuation for Beaumont, Port Arthur, and the Houston-Galveston evacuees that came up here to be sheltered. I also want to point out that we do have another Coppell resident in the picture. The gentleman in the white shirt is Josh Roberts. He is the regional state coordinator for the Texas Division of Emergency Management. I always want to point out if we got a citizen mixed in there. I'd like to open up and entertain any questions. I know we kind of ran through in a hurry there. The area in the map there is the 16-county COG region that the Emergency Preparedness Program serves. And it's the same COG region as the rest of the COG programs.
Thank you very much. It was a great presentation.
I just have a quick comment. I had the opportunity to serve on the Emergency Preparedness Planning Council for 3 years, and if anybody on the council has a desire, it's a great organization. It keeps you abreast of a lot of stuff that's going on in the region. So if there's any opening spots, check with the COG and see. It's a really interesting opportunity. So just want to throw that out there.
On a rotating basis, so they open up each year.
Yeah, based on population. So,
Correct.
Yep.
Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. Brad, what's the biggest need of the group right now? I mean, you've got rotating members. You've got, is it like equipment that the collective group is biggest in need of, or volunteers, or where's your biggest need?
Overall, within the emergency preparedness program,
yes, sir.
We're looking at really right now targeting some of the recovery programs. That's one of the things that's often missed within a total preparedness program. There's a lot of emphasis on response, and we're putting together some of the regional efforts towards recovery that include debris management, things like that, after the disaster takes place, and actually recovering from that. It's not. No one likes to have debris management exercises or recovery exercises because they're not very exciting, but they are very labor intensive and very time intensive.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. These are items that are normally enacted in one motion. Tonight we have items A through E, and they have been rotating through on the screens. Any of these items can be pulled to be worked on separately. Council, are there any items that you would like to consider separately? Hearing none, Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to approve item 9, consent agenda, items A through E.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Long. All in favor?
Long, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item 10. This is one of the more exciting items for this evening. Consider approval of the comprehensive annual financial report, affectionately called CAFR, for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2018. Ms. Tian, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to present to you the fiscal year end 2017-2018 annual financial report for your acceptance this evening. Mr. John DeBurros, the partner with Weaver, the city's audit firm, is here to provide you with the results of the audit.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, my name is John DeBurro. I'm audit partner with Weaver, and I'm here to present the results of the fiscal year 2018 audit. I thank you for meeting with me earlier during the work session where we went through the detail of our audit process, the required communications, and financial highlights from the CAFR. We conducted our audit, performing interim field work during July and August, and did our final field work in January, and issued our audit opinion on the city's financial statements on February 13th. And I'm happy to report that we've issued our independent auditor's report on the financial statements and issued an unmodified opinion, which means we feel that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects for fiscal year 2018. And we've also issued our independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance on other matters. The audit was conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and generally accepted government auditing standards, and we're happy to report that there were no findings on our report. So all in all, a very clean opinion.
That is the best news ever. We did have a preview of this report, actually a much more in-depth report in the work session earlier. So, Council, are there anything else that you would like to Member Matthew?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a quick question on the presentation at page 25. Its revenues exceeded budget by $1 million. Can you tell us a little more about that?
The $1 million is made up of, it's about $560,000 with sales tax, was more than what we projected. And then the other was interest revenue, was more than what we projected. So our investments earned more interest than what we thought that they were going to when we prepared the budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Council member?
Yeah, I just want to compliment staff. I mean, it's so nice year in and year out to get a clean audit with just no comments and such great comments from our auditor. So I just want to say how much I appreciate the work you guys do.
Sure that sentiment is echoed by everyone here and city manager's office as well.
They really do a great job.
Thank you. We always assume that they do, and it's great when we hear from you that they do as well as we expect them to. So, Councilmember Yingling.
Thanks, Mayor. I move to approve item number 10.
Second by Councilmember Matthew. All in favor?
Long, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you. We appreciate
Thank you.
the city.
The next item on our agenda is to receive the Vision 2040 Strategic Plan as delivered by the 2040 Executive Committee. And Mr. Kevin Nevels, please come forward. Welcome, and we love the t-shirt.
Oh, thank you very much. Not gonna lie, I thought the second time I was standing up here I'd be a little less nervous. I am still nervous, so we will just proceed as is. But a slight offhand comment, the recognition of the girls cross country team, I love seeing things like that. We're very blessed to be able to, you guys know my day job, I teach martial arts, so we do a self-defense class for them every year, and it's amazing to see how they've improved and how well they were. So just a thought, so apologies for that little rambling there. All right. Mayor Hunt, Council, and City Manager Lamb. My name is Kevin Nevels, and I'm speaking on behalf of the 2040 Executive Committee. Today is an exciting day for the future of the City of Coppell. We, the 2040 Executive Committee, have been working hard and have been looking forward to this day since we embarked on this community journey back in May of 2018. Today, we are submitting the final draft of the Vision 2040 report, and I'm happy to say that the entire committee stands behind the plan that has been put forth in this report. The report remains largely untouched per the last draft that you have seen, except for a few areas that were brought to our attention through the community presentations that were given to the public approximately 2 weeks ago. We were so grateful to the 60-plus people who attended the sessions and gave feedback. Most of the questions that we received were clarification points and general comments, but there were a few areas that we felt could be strengthened based on the feedback we received. We want to take a moment to thank those individuals who took time to provide us with thoughtful, constructive feedback to improve the quality of the report. This factor is one of the many that speak to the inclusiveness of the process and the desire of the Executive Committee to leave no stone unturned to seek input from the whole community. Due to the citizen engagement and suggestions that we received, we as a committee felt like we needed to address three particular topic areas. The three topic areas that the committee considered were as follows. Number one, continuing the emphasis on health and wellness set forth by the 2030 plan. Two was inclusion of citizens who have disabilities. And three, continuing to involve citizens through the throughout the implementation stages of this process. As the committee looked into the suggestions further, we realized that the first two topic areas, health and wellness and inclusion, were already addressed in the current proposed pillars, but were not at the forefront of the report. We were able to highlight these areas within the context of the current pillars and allow them to receive the attention they deserve in the report. The third area about citizen involvement in the process wasn't a reflection of the content, but was more about the process that was used to development of the 2040 plan. There is a hunger from the people who are involved in the visioning process to continue to serve the community during the implementation phase. There's also a desire for transparency in the process as well. We feel that these involvement ideas are very important to the citizens, and it was crucial to highlight them in the Section 10 next steps of the report. In closing, the Executive Committee would like to thank everyone who took the time to fill out a survey, share a meeting time with a neighbor, participate in the think tank process, attend a community engagement session, share your thoughts in a community presentation, or ask a question or share a concern with a committee member. This process would simply not have happened without your involvement, and everyone on the executive committee, every one of the executive committee members is grateful for your participation. Coppell is a highly desirable and truly unique community oasis, and we all look forward to what the next 20 years holds in store for our city. Thank you very much. And at this time, the executive committee would like to address any questions, comments, or concerns before we officially hand off the plan from the citizens of Coppell to our city leadership.
Well, we're excited too. I think this is really a handoff, and I don't know about everyone else, but my intent is to spend a lot of time with this document. We've had a couple of different takes at it. I do appreciate the items that you guys have added to it. It seems like those would probably be a part of what we were looking at in the future, because we have gotten so much positive feedback on the work of the executive committee and Coppell city staff and everybody that has touched this. We're excited to be able to kind of roll up our sleeves and really start paying attention and moving this into our plan of work as well. Anyone else? Councilmember Mays.
Kevin, I don't want to put you on the spot, but one of the 3 points that but I'm going to anyway.
Absolutely.
So one of the 3 items that you were talking about caught my attention, and it sounded great. I'm very pleased to hear that the people that participated in the 2040 plan didn't get burned out and still want to participate and see it implemented. That's a very strong statement. So could you just give us a little preview into what some of those thoughts were?
Absolutely.
If you don't mind.
I was able to attend both the community engagement or the community presentations, as well as the presentation that we had here a couple weeks ago. During the Q&A sessions after the presentation, several people raised their hand and they were like, "How do I continue to be involved?" We definitely all felt that there was a hunger and a desire to continue with this process, and I think that has to do with the way that we went about trying to include as many people as possible in the process. I think that the citizens that were there have taken some ownership of this in terms of not just trying to throw out grandiose ideas, but about how can I take this vision and turn it into actual items that can be, that we can see real results in our community. So, and it wasn't just I guess I can help out. I mean, there was true passion about they really love the process and they want to be involved and they want to be engaged. So I know I could probably speak for the entire executive committee that as people who have been tied to this since May of last year, we were excited to see other people kind of organically become a part of this process and want to take ownership of it as well.
Thank you. I thought one of the comments I heard at the last engagement session was from one of the co-chairs of the 2030 plan, and it wasn't Councilmember Roden, it was Barb Schmidt. And she said, this is a great thing. She said the 2030 plan was to tell us what to do, and this is to tell us where we want to go. Mm-hmm. And I thought hearing that from her was, that was insightful. She had backed off from the 2040 with her involvement in the 2030, and I thought it was a great comment and really a testament to what you guys have done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember
Just
Yingling.
a quick thank you to the executive committee, because I know how many hours you've put in, and I know you are all folks who are involved in a lot of other things in your life. So the fact that you took the time to participate in this very important project means a lot to the council, to the staff, to the entire city of Coppell, and then as well as the other folks who showed up, all the other citizens as well. And thanks for leading it and driving this process. So thanks so much.
Mr. Land?
I too would like to say thank you to the executive committee, but I do want to take a moment to say thank you to Tracy and Molly. Mm-hmm. This has been a extremely fruitful and beneficial process, and I can tell you from the participation standpoint, Tracy's already said to me this has really been a game changer for how we go forward and our approach to involving the public through the process as we make decisions going forward. So thank you all for your service, but specifically to Molly and to Tracy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you guys
it.
so much. Appreciate it.
We look forward to getting to work.
All right.
Okay, item 12, we are continuing a public hearing. So I reopen the public hearing and ask Ms. Diamond to read it into the record.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is to consider approval of PD 295HC Archway 121, a zoning change request from Highway Commercial to Plan Development District 295 Highway Commercial to establish a concept site plan for a gas station, hotel, retail, and restaurants and office on 8.7 acres of property and a detailed site plan for a convenience food store with gas pumps on 2.2 acres located at the southwest corner of State Highway 121 and Freeport Parkway at the request of Archway 121 Limited, being represented by Chase Helm Winkleman Associates. Again, what's before you this evening is a rezoning to establish a concept site plan, as well as a detailed site plan at the corner of Freeport and 121. I'm going to just spend a few minutes talking a little bit about history and to provide some context for this zoning case and why the recommendations are. Back in actually 15 years ago, the city initiated rezoning along State Highway 121 and 635. Those areas were actually zoned light industrial. At that point, we rezoned them highway commercial. The intent of the highway commercial district was to basically enhance the development standards to really provide for an impressive gateway into the community. So that sentiment was pretty much echoed when the comprehensive plan was approved in 2010-11, where we did designate these areas along the freeways as what we call freeway special districts. What part of that freeway special district designation, we're looking at things to incorporate things such as focal points in these developments. We can see that this is the proposed development that's actually under construction at 635 and Beltline Road, where they designated almost an acre of land as a basically gathering area, public art area, and a focal point for this development. The comprehensive plan also speaks to greater setbacks than what would be required in other areas, normal setbacks, up to 50, 80-foot setbacks, including the public rights-of-way. This is a corner of 121 and Denton Tap, where the development had abided by that. Another important part of the comprehensive plan and the highway commercial district is that properties come that they need to have a good form and character. There'll be architectural compatibility. Another good example of this is, again, a highway commercial zone property at 121 and Denton Tap at the Market Street, where, again, they were building a grocery store and they were also building a gas station. Obviously, the gas station was architecturally compatible and designed to make sense with that grocery store. The rest of that development also abided by that, where their inline retail used the same architectural features and materials. Their outlot, the Bank of America, also incorporated that. And last but not least, our Whataburger that doesn't look like any other Whataburger in the Metroplex, but fits very well in that. So that's just basically setting the history and the context for the review of this request that's before you this evening. Again, they're looking to establish a concept plan and about 8 acres of land and a detailed plan at the corner for a QT gas station. This case was first presented to City Plan Commission in November. There was considerable concern about land uses placement, technical issues, and how it didn't address the context and the issues that were brought up. So the Plan Commission did table this case for 60 days to allow the applicant to go back and address the technical and other issues. So the applicant did come back in January, and they did revise the plans. I'm going to just kind of hit some of the highlights of the revisions that they did to address both staff and P&Z's concerns. The first revision they did is they actually revised the QT site plan. Originally, they had the gas pumps right there at the hard corner of 121 and Freeport and the building behind that. What they actually did was flip those two uses so that at the corner you do have the building, and behind that you would have the gas pumps. Originally, they had basically a fast food restaurant on one lot and retail on the other. They replaced the fast food restaurant with a mirror or 8,400 square foot retail, so basically you have two inline retail buildings. Originally, they had a two-story office at the corner along 121. They replaced that with a potential 4 to 5 story or 73,000 square foot office with structured parking. The last piece to this puzzle was a hotel, which pretty much remained the same between the first iteration and the second. So what's before you this evening is, again, a revised concept plan for the uses as I described. They also did add a focal point where they added a pedestrian plaza, which basically connects the hotel to the inline retail. They also added basically a pedestrian way that runs east and west to provide some character to this. Originally, they had 15-foot buffers along the street rights of way. They had now they've increased those to 20, so at least meets our minimum requirements. This is City of Coppell has very good landscape requirements, put it that way. This is an illustration of the landscaping they're looking to provide. As you're probably all aware, that we have 3 levels. Level 1 is our perimeter landscaping, which is pretty typical in most communities. That's what you see in yellow. It's basically 15 foot at the street and 10 foot internally. We also have parking lot landscaping, which is what you see in blue, which is basically 10% of parking lot area. And our last is what we call non-vehicular landscaping. Basically, you take your site plan, net out your building, and it's 15% over and above the other 2 levels. What's shown in this graphic is their non-vehicular landscaping that's in red. What they are requesting was to provide basically half of what would be required in non-vehicular landscaping. And over and above that, their non-vehicular landscaping in the retail area was basically paving. It's their plaza area. It has no green space and no softness to it at all. On their hotel area, pretty much all of their non-vehicular landscaping was going to be the private pool area. Staff and P&Z was very concerned that while the QT lot has a lot of landscaping and the office has some more, it's very reasonable to assume that these lots will be sold off and developed on an individual basis. And we feel it's very important that each lot, as it comes in and develops, meets our landscape requirements. My discussion with the applicants over the last month or so is that my understanding is they have agreed to, when they bring in the additional lots, that they are no longer asking for landscape variance, that they will abide by our landscape ordinance. And again, part of the original planning PD, they provided building elevations, concept elevations. These were the ones that were presented in November, and this was the QT. At that point, the architectural compatibility and cohesion was really not apparent at all with that first request. So the applicants did go back to the drawing board, and what's before you this evening is revised elevations. And Councilman, this is the materials board. So what they've done is they've added more architectural features and basically have 9 different brick samples, all in kind of the same family tone, to address that issue. Again, here's the quick trip as part of that piece to that puzzle. It appears to be a little bit more architecturally compatible with the rest of that, but not as apparent as we'd like it to be. Again, here's the color board I just sent around. Another part that they revised between the first and second P&Z hearing was that they did provide this nice little, basically development sign. At this point, it said Archway 121, which would be, again, right on this wall at the corner of 121 and Freeport. However, on their site plan, too, they kind of had some other ellipses there that appeared to be that they wanted to continue this pattern, but we're really unsure if that's what they're really trying to do or not. So basically, the bottom line is, with the concept plan, there's a significant amount of technical and drafting issues. Those could be addressed, and those are actually in your packet. There's a whole page of that. However, again, staff and commission was concerned about the minimum landscape requirements, but again, we have verbal confirmation from the applicant that they will, address that issue. Okay, let's real quickly turn to the detailed site plan, which is what's before you this evening, which is for a convenience food store with gas pumps. Here is a picture of it, or rendering. Again, we're looking right from 121 and Freeport into the property. You see the sign, you see the building, and then you see the gas pumps. It'll be about 5,000 square foot store and about 7,400 square foot canopy. Again, the canopy being bigger than the store. These are the building elevations, similar to what we see, existing in Coppell. But to allow the store to happen, there are a significant amount of variances they are requesting. Their sign along, attached to the building, is a 121 square foot attached sign. Originally, they had some medallions, another 80 square foot of medallions, which they have taken off for the most recent submittal. But our sign ordinance would only permit a 90 square foot sign, so they're still exceeding the sign ordinance by 21 square feet. They are requesting red metal awnings, which again are specifically prohibited in our ordinance, but could be accomplished with the PD, as well as the red stripes on the awnings. Their current renderings do show window signage that appears to cover 100% of the windows. I'm not really sure that's their intent, but they need to know that we only allow window signs up to 10%. Again, here's the building elevation. Here's some shots of the existing one in Coppell. As you can see, the canopy pretty much dwarfs and hides the actual building. This is a canopy that they are requesting on this property. Again, another variance is that they are requesting 2 square foot button signs on the canopy, but that is typical of this development. Finally, they're requesting, by ordinance, 1 60 square foot monument sign is permitted on this property. They're requesting 2 signs, one on 121 and one on Freeport, and that's addition to their development sign. So, real quick summary: their variances that to allow for just the QT, they want 2 monument signs where one's permitted. They want a 121 square foot wall sign or attached sign, increased by 29 square feet. They're requesting metal canopies on the building, and then the window sign, and then to allow the 2 20 square foot button signs on the gas canopy. On January 17th, the Planning Commission did recommend denial of this planned development district, basically due to the deficits in the mountain landscape on the concept plan, the variances required both to signage and architectural standards of the City of Coppell to actually allow the QT occur. There were concerns brought up about that this use being at the gateway to Coppell and what impact it will have or what tone it will set for the rest of the development. That's in terms of signage, because if usually in our PDs, our master plan retail areas, they have consistent signage. So here, the first signage here is something that doesn't comply with our ordinance. Again, the color palette does appear to be right, but the setting the tone with the gas station at the corner was a concern of Plan Commission. Again, there's a significant amount of technical and drafting issues which hopefully could be addressed. I will remind you that because Plan Commission did recommend denial, we'll take a 3/4 vote, or 6 out of 7 this evening, to approve it. These are technical conditions. I will not go through all these, but just make them part of the public record. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant group is here, and they do have about a 15-minute presentation for y'all.
Well, I would welcome the applicant group to come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Eric Hawk. I live at 1304 Shamrock Lane in Plano, Texas. Thank you very much for the opportunity to visit with you. We're very excited about this project. Marcy did a great job kind of giving the history, so I won't go into detail about that, but I do want to talk about just our involvement in this project and how we kind of got to where we are today. This has really been a 3-year project where we've assembled almost 20 acres, and we did a first acquisition. Prologis, as I'm sure you're aware, developed a 120-acre project, and a portion of that was highway commercial. We ended up acquiring 10 acres from them, and then subsequently we were able to buy 2 additional parcels from different owners. So, really the great thing I think that we've been able to do is assemble, a 20-acre project that now we can really create a place that is better than what would have been done by all those individual owners. So, this is our first project in Coppell. First time we've gone through the process here, so we've had some learning as we've gone through these discussions. We've had, I think, a very good dialogue with staff and with P&Z, and they've challenged us a lot. And I think hopefully you saw through those exhibits, we really continue to kind of refine and I think definitely improve. I think other people who will speak will comment that we do feel like how this has evolved has become a much better project from when we first started. There were really 2, as Marcy mentioned, P&Z did recommend denial. 2 main issues, at least as it relates to the concept plan. And, actually, the main thing on the concept plan that I wanted to talk about was the landscaping. And, it is a very detailed process to go through and really meet all the different criteria that's in the plan. We were short in really the non-vehicular and a couple other areas. The way we looked at it, we had really the most prominent corners. We were over landscaped, and so the very visible areas, but the retail in the middle and the hotel, we were a little bit short there. Prior to going to P&Z, we did stipulate that we would redesign and meet the ordinance. We just didn't have time to actually generate the actual site plan just to be able to show it to P&Z. This right here actually is the first. We've color-coded it a little bit differently, but this is essentially the same thing, or it is the same thing that Marcy just showed. Big picture here, we were overall, we were pretty close to almost 30% coverage on landscaping. And if you'll just go to the next one. So this is a revised plan that does meet all the ordinances. We are losing some coverage in the retail and the office. The hotel's about the same. In order to meet this, we did have to, we actually have 30-foot buffers between the office, retail, and Quick Trip. We maintain the 20-foot setback all the way around the property, actually increased the setback on the front to 30 feet. And then when you actually add in what the right-of-way is for, TxDOT, we have anywhere from 43 to 80 feet of setback in those areas. So I think it would appear incredibly well landscaped. I don't want to talk too much on this, but the challenges with this site, it's a small parcel, 8.7 acres. We're surrounded by roads all the way around, and then we've created a plan where there's multiple parcels here. We're trying to bring amenities to this area, so all the different setbacks within those parcels. So those creates the challenges that we didn't meet for P&Z, but we've now refined, and that plan right there would meet the ordinance. So that was the first, I think, main concern P&Z had. And then there was discussion about the use and the concern of a quick trip on this prominent corner. We agree it's a very important intersection, and I think if anyone's should be concerned, it should be us. We have almost 20 acres here. We intend to develop this. We're not hotel people. We would, bring in a hotel developer for that. But the other pieces of this are going to, we're going to be involved in those developments, and so we obviously would want to make sure we're making good decisions here. This is. We think this will be somewhere between $100 and $125 million project at full build out. So really the quick trip, is really a small piece of the overall project. And I was approached by every group in that category. Quick Trip is the only one we talked to, would consider talking to. They're by far the best brand. They've got a very successful store in Coppell. I know they have a bigger presence here, with another operation they have. So we definitely felt like they were the right group to work with. This is clearly an underserved area, and it lacks. I mean, I think I sent you all some letters we got from the adjacent property owners. I've got some copies here if you didn't get a chance to read that, but. I reached out to all the adjacent owners. Across the board, they were all very supportive, and I got no negative feedback. The tenants in these properties really were excited to hear that this development may be coming here, and so hopefully you'll get a chance to look at that. But I would say those are, I think, the two primary concerns P&Z had, and we just. Over time, I think we've refined, but we didn't do as good a job as we should have to present that. So we've actually we've done quite a bit of work since then. We engaged Coppell to help us create a little bit better visual images of kind of to show the big picture of what the overall 20 acres looks like. This is obviously focused just on the 8.7, but the 10 acres to the north. Our vision there is a very high, significant Class A office development. So, I'd like Andrew Bennett with Coppell to come down and just kind of walk through some of the visuals that we created to show y'all tonight.
Hi there, Andrew Bennett, 1160 Ballymote, Dallas, Texas. As Eric mentioned. I'm with Coppell. I came back to Dallas in 1995. I grew up here, and my first project in 1995 was on Freeport Parkway, just across the highway in a neighboring city of ours. And so it's really cool to think about Freeport Parkway as a gateway site like it's thought about in the master plan for Coppell. Our real estate partners at Cushman & Wakefield and Eric at Archway engaged us in the fall to help on master planning on the office part of the building. Office part of the site, and also to start thinking about the overall branding and concept for both sides of the street as a gateway to the city, or a west gate, if you will. You can see on these renderings, and again, there's a little bit of artistic liberty with the name and the logo. Our real estate partners are starting to think about how to brand this place. And so on the north side of the track, you'll see in this rendering is what we would call Class A office, casual Class A sometimes if it's tilt wall. The kind of project that we see here would be, anywhere from 200 to 350,000 square feet. It's feasible. It would have a parking structure if the right tenants came along. That's when you start to think about it as Class A office if it's got covered parking and it's getting amenitized by things that the corporate America wants these days. So being across the street from the Quick Trip, being across the street from a limited service hotel, being across the street from inline retail, that has been envisioned now, and you'll see in the next couple of renderings. I think you can go to the next one here. This is a rendering that our firm prepared for the Quick Trip just to show a little bit more mature landscaping, how it starts to blend in with what you call the development signage, the development wall, the contiguous materials. The idea with both sides of this master plan for Westgate would be that there's a cohesiveness to it, that the synergies of the uses start to speak to each other, because the real trend in real estate these days, as you guys can see throughout North Texas and throughout the state and the country, is mixed-use development, so that there's convenience and less car traffic, if you will. The ability to be able to get gas coming in and out of the development, coming in and out of all the industrial that's behind here, I think is a huge benefit for having the Quick Trip there. To have a limited service hotel, to have some inline retail, so that the office workers in that large office building aren't driving everywhere at lunch, I think is a great thing. The next rendering shows the inline retail with a little more character development than what's been shown to you before. Again, I think the ability for our firm to help them with their graphics and the master planning and the branding is something that we brought to the table in that regard. We would be viewed as kind of an oversight architect, master plan architect, if you will, to partner with Eric and anybody that comes along in developing each of these pieces. I think the next thing might be a 2-minute animation. If you'll just run that, I'll just keep talking about it. As you can see, this Westgate development is in the heart of this entry, is surrounded by industrial. So to be able to create a gateway that has something of substance and size, like the office on the north and like the 4 or 5 story hotel. The office, as you mentioned earlier, has been on the south end, has been enlarged to maybe be 75,000 square feet. Obviously, these are still concept images, but you can start to see some of that cohesive materiality and the context of being a real place. The idea here is to make a place. And this animation shows those feature elements like the plaza in the middle of the buildings that connect the hotel and the retail. It shows the pedestrian spine so that you can literally walk over to the Quick Trip, walk across the street to the office, and start to utilize all of this as kind of one master planned development. You mentioned that in the middle area where there's hardscape, we did the same thing. We didn't show a lot of softscape, but I imagine that we really get into it. There'll be potted plants and things to kind of soften that up. Certainly seating and umbrellas and shade areas for the retail. The inline retail on the service road for 121 presents a pretty strong character there with that trellis element that connects the two pieces, and then backed in featuring the office on the north that Johnny Johnson with Cushman & Wakefield will talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. That's pretty much it for me, and I'm going to turn it over to Jake Petrus with Quick Trip.
Mayor Council, Jake Petrus, Real Estate Manager, Quick Trip, 1120 North Industrial Boulevard, Euless, Texas. Thanks for the opportunity to visit with you guys tonight. I want to kind of start with, we truly cherish and appreciate our relationship with Coppell. Many of you know we operate a commissary that delivers fresh sandwiches and food products to all of our stores every single day, and employ about 100 folks there. We also have an operating store on Beltline that has actually reached a point this actual year where it's in the top 5% of all of our stores within DFW. So it's really, really performing well. It feels like the community has really embraced us at that location. So I want to thank you for that. We started this project it's been a year ago. I think I've been looking at it from a real estate perspective for about 2.5. But we're really excited and thrilled with what we put together tonight. When we first met with Marcy, I don't know if I could have that exact same statement. However, we have really put something together, and a lot of it has to do with her credit, it really humbles me to say that, but she actually gave us some really good criticisms to actually make this product that cool and look that nice. I mean, we have made some huge concessions from our personal business, things that we have not considered in the past. When we came to the table and met with Marcy, we knew we were going to have to raise the bar, and we were going to have to do something unique, and we were going to have to focus, excuse me, on a gateway element. And I'll highlight just a couple points, but the canopy on the side of the building where it is not the focal point of our business is incredibly foreign to us. And we're excited about this opportunity. We are optimistic that this could be an avenue for us to have more increased merchandise sales, which many of you know is kind of our more profitable type of sale. And kind of putting the gasoline on the back burner really matches well with this master plan development. We also put a lot of emphasis on landscaping. We're buying just a little over 2 acres here, and almost 35% of that entire lot will be strictly green space. And an approval of a detailed site plan tonight, it will be forever. The last thing was the gateway element. I cannot, what Boca really put together with that hard corner, we did take some artistic liberty. We had our personal engineer put together the signage. There's a big difference between engineers and architects, as we found, and so he put together an Archway 121 sign. But you look at this with the West Gate and the profile that Mr. Johnson's kind of put together to brand this as a real development and a really good themed gateway. This is something, in my opinion, to really be excited about. I dare say it, but I think Gary Sieve himself would be excited and proud with what we're putting together. I truly do. He asked for a couple of these things with the canopy. But let's hold off on that. I'll finish with that. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We're really excited to be here. We'll close with Mr. Johnny Johnson, who's going to be the architect of the broker of record for Archway. Thank you so much.
And welcome back to Coppell.
It's good
Mr.
to be
Johnson.
home. Good to see Mayor, Council. For those of you that know me, it's good to see you again. For those that I haven't met, I'm Johnny Johnson, and I'm with Cushman & Wakefield. I've invested 30 years of my career in the commercial real estate business and has specialized in the office leasing part of the business and was engaged by this group to represent the office here for this project. I know we're here tonight to talk about the QT project, and it's a little over 2 acres. It's a very, very viable part to this development. But as Eric said, this is a $125 million project, and a lot that's vested in us is really well over 50% of this project is going to be committed for office. So while this is extremely important tonight, certainly to address the Quick Trip issue, just so from our perspective, if the Quick Trip is even an inkling of a challenge to this development, and particularly for the office of what's going to drive the value of this, believe me, we'd be the first to raise our hands and say this is not the right use for this project. Personally, I have a lot vested in it. I've lived in Coppell for over 20 years. My wife and I have raised our kids here. 3 of our children have gone through from 1st grade to 12th grade, and so I have a very personal interest in this project. I've leased, many have been very fortunate. I've leased a lot of the office at the south entrance with the Caliber Home site, the State Farm site to the south, right at Beltline and 635, the American Elm Boys site, Convergence in Louisville. We were involved with the redevelopment, and now it's Louisville, not Coppell, but it's pretty close, and including the project even north of this where ST Micro and Time Warner is located. We've leased that building as well. So we desperately see an opportunity here, and that is to really change the face of Coppell on the west side. While we're engaged on the office, we worked really hard, and Marcy, I don't know if it's possible to pull up the visual of the rendering where you see the overview, and it's different from the one that I think you've shown thus far, but it should be right behind. If you've not, let's see.
That's one, I'm sorry, this one?
Yeah, this is really a visual. Again, when we were hired by Archway, our objective is, again, is having lived in Coppell and knowing this market as well as I do, we see the people see Coppell to the south, and Cypress Water certainly dominates how people see our city and the entrance from the south, as you notice in the green dot. We're kind of lost in the shuffle on the east side where Sandy Lake goes beyond the Coppell border. And I'm not sure what we can ever do to really create a strong entrance to the city from the east, even whether it's Sandy Lake or Beltline. We've leased a lot of project around Vista Ridge to the north, and how the people experience our city coming from the north. It is what it is. It's mature, and what we've got today is what we've got today. It's not going to change a whole lot probably in the years to come. So the real opportunity that we see is we saw this, and while we got excited about it, one, it's a large site. As Eric said, it's a place. It's 20 acres. There's not many great development sites, particularly for office in this part of the world. So we saw a real opportunity to transition where people really see this part of Coppell as an industrial, and they're really not sure. Sometimes you're going down 121, and you really don't know it's Coppell. You see a lot of industrial buildings, but there's really not a designated positive entrance to the city, particularly from the west. So if you go to the next one, it's a little bit closer to home. We saw the opportunity again from an office perspective. What's really going to drive the value, this is an accessibility map, but as you can see, people really see this particular site of having immediate on-off of 121, which is an obvious benefit. The green, whether it's coming in on Sandy Lake or people that commute in and out of the city coming up Freeport Parkway, which has been a tremendous add, particularly to get to this site. It has great access, and even with the traffic and what's going to continue to evolve in the future, we're very, very positive about the potential for this site as a real gateway. And as Eric said, we took the liberty, and whether we brand it Westgate, we like the name because we like Westgate at Coppell, to really promote Coppell and promote it as a positive west side entrance to this city. So all that said, again, that's up for, I guess we can continue to work through that. But again, we felt really strong because it gave it a real identity for a place. If you go to I think there's one more slide.
That was it.
That's okay. We can if you go back to the office, and I think it's important, when we look at the office component, we can build up to 300,000 feet on what we call the north site. What people really want, and what's driving a lot of the office tenants today, they want walkability. They want something where they can go and it's not just an island or another building. What's going to really make this site successful is to have places like the QT and like the positive experience that we hope to create in the retail and in some of the services on the south side, because an office tenant is going to see this as a place. And so we're very keen on really making sure that the south part of this development complements the north side, because the office, as I said, likelihood is we'll probably build a 200,000-foot building. We went down the road with Veridesk, and Veridesk, as you know, bought the old Zales headquarters site, and spent a lot of time with Dan and Jason and his team. I mean, they're all Coppellians. All these guys want to be in Coppell. And we were very disappointed that we weren't able, and at the end of the day, it was probably timing. It was a lot of things that's evolved. But there was a lot of interest on their part. And we believe that this is a great site. And again, these guys wouldn't have invested the kind of money that they have for almost 20 acres if they didn't believe so as well. So we think that this QT, again, is a positive thing. Again, it has to be presentable, and that's why we want to do a lot more with the branding. We want to make sure that we really just promote the area and the place. And the QT is not going to have a dominant, over-dominant presence to more than pronounce what's really available behind it with the hotel, with the retail, and certainly the office complement. So I'd open up for any questions. And any questions, Mayor Hunt, on your part or anybody else, we're sure glad to answer it.
Well, thank you. This is a public hearing, so we're going to turn it over. Is there anything else that you guys want to add right now?
Yeah.
You're good? Okay. So we're going to, Mr. Wong, would you like to come forward? And you've been sitting there. I hope you haven't gotten more nervous. Now you've seen it's really easy and we're really nice. So just state your name and address for the record one more time.
My name is Kim Wong. I live at 512 Oakcrest Drive. Again, it's just right over by United Methodist Church, down by the duck pond. And tonight I'm here to to voice my support for the proposed Quick Trip. I am nervous, so I have some prepared remarks with me. So just kind of bear with me, if you would, please. To start off being totally transparent, some of you actually may know me or recognize me as I am the store manager for the current Quick Trip in Coppell off Beltline Road. But tonight I'm here talking to you as a resident of our city. Maybe almost 2 years ago or so, my family and we moved here from Oklahoma. And we specifically pinpointed Coppell as where we wanted to be. We knew that the top-tier school district here would provide the education and opportunity for success that our children deserve. Excuse me. But it also would provide, as a city, all the goods and services that would not only make it convenient, but just a really great place to raise a young family. Excuse me. Excuse me, nervous. We honestly didn't even look at any other cities when we were moving to Texas because generally, first of all, we knew that with everything that it had to offer, this was where we wanted to live. Now that we've been here and I've been responsible for the day-to-day operations of a business here in Coppell, I've felt it extremely important to ensure that all those fantastic attributes that the city offers be felt by all the people that walk in to my Coppell Quick Trip. Excuse me. Getting a little dry here. And basically get them to understand everything that me and my family love about this city, and ensure that they feel it as well. My team, they spend a lot of time, they spend a lot of effort to make sure that our customers have that same feeling about Coppell as I do. And one of our main goals for my team is to make sure that that experience for my customers comes through as a place of congregation and a sense of a close-knit community that really appeals to that small-town feel that everyone has, where everybody knows their name and friends and family actually enjoy meeting there at our location. And the town that we lived in Oklahoma gave us that same sense of community and tight-knit feel that we had there. But as Quick Trip, as a company, we have the ability to provide a state-of-the-art facility that also meshes into all those goods and services that I talked about, makes the convenience of that Coppell has really focused on to build and provide to its community. The only thing is that I really just want to leave you guys here tonight with the thought, and remember that 6 years ago or so, the city of Coppell made a decision to approve a Quick Trip, and that decision created an opportunity for me and my family. And I hope that you make that same decision tonight to help create an opportunity to create another opportunity for another family here in Coppell. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
I was going to ask if anyone else wanted to speak.
Amit Sangani, 739 Chateau Drive in Coppell. Mayor Hunt and City Council, thanks for the opportunity to present the Executive Committee's plan. I also would like to say on this particular presentation that I saw, I heard that they talked about walkability during lunch hour to a Quick Trip. Are we sure that's what we're talking about here? I think it's a far stretch. I would recommend that you guys take the P&Z's consideration, all of the things that were talked about. I think the city entrance can be better with the buildings that were shown. So in the video that I saw, what I would recommend is if they can, I have no problems against the Quick Trip application. Instead of having in the front of the entrance, they could have that in the back. The buildings, office buildings, the restaurants, or whatever else that's being planned for a hotel, all of that can be still in the front entrance. If the walkability is what they're looking for, the office entrance people can always drive to the back and still get their Quick Trip conversation, can meet, congregate, buy their snacks, whatever they want. I think it's a far stretch, and I'm sure that we as a city council can see through that. I would really hope that you'd reconsider that and look at that rendering and see if you can move the Quick Trip in the back and have the front entrance for the hotel and something that's more attractive to the west side. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Was there someone else? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Mark Brandenburg. I live at 152 Cottonwood Drive here in Coppell. And I've lived here for 20 years, and I appreciate what you guys are trying to do, making sure that we have a nice place to live in, that was some place we're all proud of being from, right? I had heard about what Archway was doing and obviously know some of the folks out there that are doing it and know they have a terrific reputation with regard to kind of the development and the things that they think through. And I appreciate what the last gentleman had to say about kind of thinking through where things should be placed. And frankly, I'm in commercial real estate too, but I don't do any of the things that they do, right? And I do get to see developments, and I do get to see how things get put together. And frankly, the cross-pollination that Johnny talked about with regard to the walkability and the things that would fit well with that intersection and what else is going on right there, I think it fits with the rest of the sections of our entrances into Coppell. And I think, frankly, if you look at a lot of corners like that, gas stations are oftentimes things that people need and want, right? And we don't have much on the west side over there. We've got the one on Bethel Road over at Bass Pro exit, but we don't really have anything else. And I obviously live on the west side of Coppell, living off of Cottonwood on Sandy Lake, right? And it's well thought of. And I think if you're going to pick a gas station and a convenience store, Quick Trips is probably, frankly, the high bar set, unless you want to do something like a Buc-ee's, and I don't think anybody wants that out there, right? So
wouldn't that be the whole site?
Yeah, that's right. It would probably be the whole site, right? And but with what they've laid out, it's smartly laid out, and I think it would work well. And I'm here to just show my support, just because I had heard what they were doing, and I live over on that side, and I've been here for over 20 years. We bought our first house in '98 and have 4 kids, and we're going through the public system like everybody else. So we're grateful for what you guys do and provide and sacrifice on your time to kind of hear people out, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone? One more?
Art Barkley, 5146 Meadowcrest Drive, Dallas, Texas. And Marcy and I go way back. I'm a real estate developer. I focus on the industrial space, and I currently work for Prologis. So very familiar with the site. We sold this parcel to Eric and his team at the Archway. High integrity guys. It's the front of our park. Obviously, we were very interested in picking a partner that we thought would do a great job in connection with, developing really our entry. Our park is about 80% built out. It's going to total 1.3 million square feet of industrial space. And from a parking perspective or just vehicle cars, we anticipate having about 1,500 people when that park's fully built out. So in terms of the number of cars and the need for the services that I think are being put at the entry, I think it's a terrific compliment. And undoubtedly, if you look at the site, it's right in the middle of an industrial zone. I'm sure all of the other industrial owners and all of the the employees that go to those facilities will absolutely need this, the services that are being provided here. A lot of our customers have folks, that play in the DFW. That's why they locate their warehouse here. So the possibility of a hotel down the road, again, is another great complement. I just see a tremendous need for the services that are being proposed. We've taken a very close look at the plan. It's improved. Credit to Marcy. She keeps a high bar. She's done the same thing to me over the years for the projects that we've done. So not surprised to see her involved here, but certainly from our perspective, when we looked at the plan and the evolution, it's really exceeded our expectations. So, clearly we're in support of this development, and thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, so that is everyone who has signed up to speak. So I'll turn it over to the council with a reminder that we need, in order for this to continue, we need 6 votes. And there are 6 of you. I don't get to vote. Dang it. So I will turn it over to the council for questions. Councilmember Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. So I really strongly support this project and everything it potentially brings to the city. I feel they've done a good job responding to staff's comments, especially reorienting the building and moving the pumps. That being said, I've got some concerns about them not meeting the landscaping requirements. I believe that they've got to do that for each lot, and or at least come really close. I mean, some of those were less than half or thereabouts. So I think that's crucial. And I saw that you, in some later slides, that you had done some redesign to get there. So I think you should come back at the point that you've developed that fully. I do have a question really about the need for that really large sign that's on the Quick Trip building itself, being 121 square feet, and I think it's only allowed to be 91, especially given the orientation of the building. I think if it was scaled back down and the medallions were the correct size, that would be much more appropriate. In our last meeting, we approved a large monument sign, which I think would be more in line for the kind of visibility they're trying to achieve from the interstate, but I'm not going to get into design of their project now. There was some discussion about a gas station not being an appropriate use, and in highway commercial, it's not specifically listed as an allowable use, but also it's not on the list of prohibited uses. So I don't have a problem with it. I think there's a real need for it on the west side of town. I'd love to have one on the east side of town. We've got no gas stations over there, and I was so happy to have an electric car because I never had to go to the gas station. But that's another issue. Now, there was discussion about architectural compatibility and coherent architectural themes. And, I'm not a real firm believer in that, although that's, in the zoning, or I guess the comprehensive master plan. But, good architecture can stand on its own. So all the buildings don't have to look alike, and they don't have to all draw from the same palette. But that's just my personal opinion. The red mantle canopies, I think they're on the QT that's down in Beltline. So I don't see where we wouldn't allow those over here on the other side of town. Marcy, I do have a question for you. they're asking for the ability to build the hotel and drive-through restaurants without additional public hearings.
I think that's off the table now. That
is?
was one of those beginning asks.
Okay.
But where we are right now is that each lot will have to come back through you, P&Z and you, to amend the concept plan to establish a detail plan. So we will have an opportunity to make sure that they do meet the landscaping requirements and the building requirements and all that.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I think at this time it's just not ready for approval. There are just too many technical issues outstanding. The landscape plan needs to be revised, and the signage kind of brought back into compliance. So I wouldn't be able to support it tonight, but I definitely support the overall concept and the uses that they've proposed.
Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. When we developed the comprehensive land use plan back in 2010 and we talked about these gateways to the city, I think this is exactly what we anticipated. I mean, frankly, at the time we were talking more about the Leslie property at Beltline and 635 and wanting to have it be this type of development. And so I'm very supportive of this on the west side because, frankly, the opportunity to get a mixed-use development with retail, office, and a hotel on the west side at this type of gateway, I think is beyond what we had hoped for. I love the concept of hiding the gas station from a aesthetic perspective, but I think it's also our job to make sure these types of developments can be successful. And the reality is, I'm assuming Quick Trip's not just selling to the individuals within the development, but to the people driving by. So I just think that's kind of something that we have to live with. Mark, you had mentioned, or Councilman Hill, architectural consistency, I guess, and I agree. The buildings don't have to match what I would look for, and I think Boca's done a better job than the initial submission, is consistency of wayfinding and making the development look like it was planned. And I think that's the advantage of this development versus if Quick Trip had done 2 acres and then they came in with a separate office developer and then a retail developer. So I think we're fortunate that we have a developer that is going to take all of this and go forward. I think the biggest challenge we have, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and obviously a lot of the technical issues, et cetera, coming in, I think got us off to the wrong start here. And I think with Marcy's help, y'all have done a great job, again, bringing Boca in to get there. So I'm supportive of the development. Marcy, my understanding of what we're doing tonight is we're approving the detailed site plan for Quick Trip and the concept plan for everything else, correct?
Yes.
And so my approach would be, based on what y'all are telling us, is that if we were to approve this, we would have to approve it with the condition. I mean, I thought the fight tonight was going to be about landscaping, and frankly, we've worked too hard in this city and sent too many people out that door upset because we didn't approve something because of landscaping to step back now. With what you guys are offering to assure that each individual parcel will meet the landscaping requirement, I'm okay going forward, provided that the concept plan has that condition. When they come in with detailed site plans for each individual parcel, they're going to have to meet the landscape requirements for those parcels. The technical issues, frankly, I have some relationship to this type of business, and I think it's almost embarrassing that there's that many of them. But I'm comfortable with us approving something like this, saying that y'all have got to get right with staff on those issues, or it can't move forward. Okay, that would just be a condition of approval. So that's where I'm looking at this. I think the use is fantastic. It's something that we need to do. I love the way it all ties together and what Boca's come up with from an aesthetic perspective. We would need to meet the landscape requirement, and we would need to take care of all these technical issues. Final item on signing. I guess my question for, individual with Quick Trip, does the signage on Beltline exceed the 90 square feet?
The variances we're requesting, with the exception of 2 monument signs at this location, we have 2 monument signs at, or we have 1 monument sign at Beltline because it's kind of a mid-block location.
Right.
Every other architectural attribute with a few enhancements in this proposal are the exact same. The building sign, the 121 or the 121 square feet with 90 is allowed. It was approved on the other one. It's kind of an architectural issue for our team. I don't want a deal to die over 31 square feet. So if we had to concede on that, I'm confident I can figure out how to fix that issue. But as far as two monument signs, there is the problem with the design on the hard corner feature element that we established with Westgate. If we were only allowed one monument sign, the most appropriate location would be to try and capture visibility for both frontages, meaning 121 and then also Freeport. So the best location would be on the hard corner, which that obviously doesn't work because we want to focus on the gateway feature. So that's kind of the intent behind the two monuments. So that's really the only substantial difference that we have between what we're proposing here and what we have on Beltline.
And I understand that. I think because of the corner location, having the two gas signs makes sense as long as they meet our monument requirements, et cetera. I do have some problem with the window coverage with signs.
Sir, I am incredibly sorry about that. Yeah. We have some guys up at our CAD room in Tulsa that it doesn't always translate well for what we're trying to achieve here to sell a Quick Trip, and those guys up there, 10% is very easy for us to comply with. I'm sorry it was even mentioned.
Well, but they also already comply, so they know the rules.
Right. I just think in whatever we approve, we don't need to grant that variance. We need to make sure
that was an embarrassment on our part.
Okay, I understand. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. Marcy, I was writing down what I was hearing as kind of high level areas of concern, and Councilmember Roden and Hill covered most of them. But I did hear that the P&Z and your department was very concerned about landscaping. It sounds like we've gotten past that one. We don't see the drawings. You don't have the drawings yet to review. Is that correct?
No, I've looked at them, but not really. I have not studied them and analyzed them to say that they do comply.
Okay.
My understanding is that it will shrink, obviously, buildings a bit, but it won't be a significant impact.
And on the signage, just a hypothetical, if this property were broken into two, then the two entities on each end could put up monument signs on the roadway. Could they not?
If less than 2 acres, though, it would be a 40-square-foot sign. This is a 2.2-acre site, so they would get 160-square-foot sign. But if they had two 1-acre sites, they would each get a 40-square-foot sign by ordinance.
So they could still put up two signs that'd just be slightly smaller.
Yeah.
And I agree with Councilmember Roden that to me, with the visibility and the access and the amount of traffic passing through here, that would be a reasonable request on the applicant's part. When I was reading through your packet, I was very concerned about the request for no further public review, so I'm glad to hear that that's off the table. That was actually going to be my biggest concern of the whole thing. So the drafting errors, I'm an engineer too. They happen. We need to take care of those. It's we need to make sure that we don't mix square feet and square yards and stuff like that. So I'm gonna kind of echo the previous two council members. I'm very supportive of this. I think it's a good gateway to the area. The west side is deficit in the services and amenities that would be provided here. So I really hope that we can work through the issues and get this thing built at some point. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Long.
Thank you, Mary. Back to the landscaping. In the past, I know that we've done a little averaging and doing those kinds of things to try to get I think it was Mr. Hawk that said that he will comply with the landscaping, so I'm assuming that we'll be able to do something on the entire area to cause that to happen.
Yes, and again, we've done some give and take when we're doing like infill developments and redevelopments where we have a tight box. At this point, we're still talking greenfield development, so they have an opportunity to build in compliance with our ordinances.
Exactly. Let me ask you about the building itself. What are the concerns that planning has as it relates to the appearance and the structure and the materials in the QT?
Well, again, basically, they need variances from our ordinance to allow this to occur. Again,
specifically, what are some?
Specifically, are the signage, the metal canopies, and the window signage. I heard is really kind of off the table, and the button signs on the canopy. So those are things that are variances to our zoning ordinance that would have to be part of the PD to allow the QT.
How does the material on this building differ from the one on the South Beltline?
It does not. And again, that was also a Plan Development District, and just for record, neither staff nor Plan Commission supported that case either. So, again, if nothing else for consistency, that city standards, need to be adhered to unless there's reason not to.
Well, I'm assuming that as it relates to the building itself, whatever we approve, a certain amount of that architecture is going to bleed back through the project. That it's not necessarily as our engineer down there and our architect down there have said, they're not opposed to variations in the architect. So when we're approving a QT, we're not approving something that's going to be required back through the rest of the development. Is that not correct?
No, and I guess what staff was saying, it kind of sets the standard, sets the bar, but again, you all will see all the future developments too, so you have an opportunity to look on when the next building comes, does it make sense, is it compatible, Yeah.
Well, in my mind, what they've done here as far as this facility, I mean, Quick Trip has already set the bar very high as far as I'm concerned as a service station. And I'm old, obviously, service station. As a convenience store and force where you can get gasoline, they have set the bar high enough that I think if the proprietors or the owners of this facility, if we can get ourselves right as it relates to the materials that the building's going to have, that I'm not the least bit concerned about them operating on that corner. Really not. Let's see if there was anything else there. I think that's it. I just think that it looks like to me that this is ideal for that corner down there, and hopefully we can do something maybe to provide some degree of variance as it relates to the signs and get 2 monument signs on that corner, because that makes all the sense in the world. Thank you.
Councilmember Yingling.
Thank you, Mayor. So I, too, live on the west side of town, and I do see the need for this type of development. I think putting all the pieces together that have been put together in this prospective deal is exactly what we would be looking for in our city there. I feel like we're almost there, but I don't think we're quite there. You did say, he moved seats, the gentleman from Quick Trip. Oh, you went down to the front, sorry. You talked about the signage, that if that was something that we wanted you to do and it would get the deal through, you said that's something that you would work on.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So my question is, with the landscaping for this development, are you willing to get to the landscaping requirements that the city requires to get to this development, to get it done?
Yes. So this is a concept plan, and it really, I think y'all recently approved a project at Sandy Lake that was similar. They had 2 hotels, and then that was their phase 1, and phase 2 was a mixture of office and retail. And it, I looked at that. I didn't study in great detail, but the phase 2 really had very little detail to it. Didn't really address any of the setbacks, or it was really just lines drawn on a, it didn't go in. We put the detail into showing you what we intend to do, given that, if there was any concern about Quick Trip, we wanted everyone to understand, well, here's really what our vision is for the rest of it. So we went to great length to design something to show you really what we intend to do here, which goes beyond, I think, what a typical concept plan might do. So what we stipulated before P&Z was that we would adhere to that. We just didn't have time to generate the site plan that reflected that. That's what, if you could go back to that, it was the second slide of our presentation. That does meet it. There's detailed calculations that shows the 3 different levels of ordinances that have to be met. So that's we were. And I don't think I communicated it well, but that's what I was trying to say earlier, was that we will meet that in our concept. We'll agree to meet that. So
I hadn't heard that, so that's what I was looking
Yes.
to hear.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Marcy, again, just to reiterate, we're approving the Quick Trip and then the concept for the rest of it.
Yes.
And individually, it would come back and we would have to go through those individual projects.
Yes, it will be additional public hearing. And obviously, the next step in this process is that I would bring an ordinance back. Given it might take a little longer than normal to bring the ordinance back, because we do have work to do to button things up, and and I'm not sure. I'm hearing you. When your condition comes, we need to be specific in terms of what sign you want, this and that. But we will incorporate everything in the ordinance and bring that back to you. Probably be April by the time we bring it back to you.
Okay.
Make sure that we've addressed all that.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I like this concept. I think we need a gas station in that area. I think it's important. We need a gas station, and the mixed use, I also like that. I look 2 things before I vote on every public hearing. One is the P&Z's recommendation, and obviously they denied this request. And I also look at the staff recommendation, and they are also not recommending this project at this time, with a lot of outstanding issues and technical issues to be completed. So I like to support this in future once you cleared all these outstanding issues. Thank you.
Councilmember Roden.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just to address a few of the things that we've talked about here, Ms. Diamond, as is typical with a concept plan, when they come back in, these buildings may not even be in quite the same location. The landscaping will be different, et cetera, because they will be designing those to specific uses, correct?
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, this is one way it could be developed under the existing zoning, but when they come back, we anticipate, the uses being the same, but the configuration could be different depending on the users that walk in the door.
So for that reason, I hesitate to say y'all need to go back and spend a lot more time on this concept plan, because this may not be what we see when it comes back in. What I would want to have as part of the concept plan requirements, you mentioned we need to be specific, is that each parcel would be required to meet our landscaping plan. So, and I hear the applicant is addressing that. I think the other issue that we've talked about from the dais here is P&Z and staff's recommendation. Again, I commend the applicant for having come a long way from there. My perception through all these years has been P&Z's job is to look at the letter of the law and comment, and I think they did a good job, because I think what y'all presented to them did not meet what we required. I do think that y'all have addressed those issues. So I think we've got two choices. We can send it back and go through all that process again, or I think we've always had the discretion as council to see that you've addressed those, and in some cases even to grant variances because we're able to see the big picture as opposed to the letter of the law, which in some cases should not apply. So that's kind of where I'm at on this. I would want to make sure we've got the landscaping addressed in the concept plan, that requirement, and then I trust staff to work out the details, which there are a lot of here. So that's where I'm at.
One of the things that I think I was sitting down there when QT came the last time. And again, it was, as Marcy had noted, it was declined by both P&Z and staff recommended the declination of it. As we have talked here and as we have heard everybody talk about the fact that QT has been a great corporate customer, or great resident, or citizen, and they have proven that they run a great operation. The comments that I have gotten, and I think some of you may have also seen a couple of emails about the quality of place and that it's well lit and it's a place that you feel comfortable going to. And on that particular corner, on that particular area of town, if you're heading out and you need gas, there's nowhere to go. So I am, like you all, believe that this is a good use of this property. And the fact that P&Z declined it and that the staff is not recommending it, that was prior to a lot of these changes, and I think what has happened has been very good. The things that I've heard have been that we can condition it, that they will meet all requirements with landscaping, and that was a condition. One of the questions I have is the 121 square foot sign actually all in that red?
Yes. It's the quick chip and the red backing.
So the red backing isn't like painted brick. It's actually something that's attached.
Metal plate, I think. And the way the City of Coppell sign ordinance works, we do take the box around the red, not around the words.
You take what?
I'm sorry, we draw the box around the whole red area as signage, not just around the quick trip words. I'm sorry.
So it is an attachment.
So it's a metal piece of red, and then there's white channel letters that's stuck to it. If you counted the square footage of just the quick trip area, I believe it's less than 60 square feet. But she is right. The total package is 121.
Okay.
But again, if it was a point to where you wanted to vote this in the affirmative, we would concede on that item if it got us there. And sorry, one more point. I think we would be if we tabled. I think we would be pushed to April, which is spring break time.
March 26th, I think.
Oh, it would be more. I thought it was April. Either way, because we require 6 full votes in any shape or form. We're kind of thin, and so I just would ask. We would love for a vote to be in the affirmative, with considerations to be made, and we will absolutely fix them. So.
Well, because there is either table or vote but what I am hearing is that they are willing to deal with all of the technical issues. They're willing to meet all landscape requirements. I like the idea of 2 signs. Now, I hate to bring up they're asking for 60-foot signs. Is it better to have 2 40-square-foot signs? I don't know that. So, and then those are what I hear, and so I want to keep this conversation going. Councilmember Hill.
So to be clear, Ms. Timon, the 121 square foot sign and the medallion signs that are being proposed are the same that are at the other location in Coppell?
Actually, they did delete the medallion signs from today's discussion, and they're still at 121 square feet because the medallion was actually additional 80 square feet. So the 121 square foot signs, what they're asking for is, he described the red metal panel with the letters.
Okay, and then the other question I had for you, Ms. Diamond, you do a great job in enforcing all of the zoning regulations. Do you feel that we can get through the technical site plan issues, with you and your staff, without having the council say you need to come back?
Actually, I do feel relatively comfortable with that because most of it's technical issues. So if I can bring forth an ordinance to y'all, and then the site plans will be cleaned up, the conditions will be there, and then at that time, if you feel there's something amiss, obviously we could look at it then. I mean, I'd be happy to bring back.
So we do have another shot at it.
Okay, so but you feel that you can work through it with them to get it to where it needs to be?
Sure.
Okay, well then I can support it then. I mean, if we're matching what that's already there signage-wise, and I feel that for them to succeed, they definitely need the 2 monument signs. I mean, you know my feeling on the other ones.
Mayor Pro Tem Long has a question.
No comment. We as a council have the responsibility of passing ordinances. Unfortunately, the city must follow the ordinances that we approve, as does the Planning and Zoning Commission. So they don't really have the options that we do. It's our ordinances. So we alone are the only body that can modify those options if we choose to. So we obviously listen to what the P&Z has to say. We look at what they've written about it. We do obviously the same thing with Marcy and her group and the planning group. But when it comes down to it, we're the ones that are responsible, and we're the ones that have to make the decision. So for that reason, in my particular case, if they vote against it, I don't care. It's one of those things that if I feel strongly about it personally, I feel like I'm in a position to do something about it, which I have done from behind this dais a lot of times. So anyway, it's just a comment that a little different bent on it, but an accurate bent.
On the screen are the variances to the detailed site plan that have been requested. So the variance for the 2 monument signs, and also the Archway 121 development sign, which I guess Gateway West was what it was, but that is to be determined. So whatever the development sign is. Then the 121 square foot wall sign along the front, and then the red metal canopies. Forget the last one. That one is and so the second to the last one was to allow 2 20-foot on the gas canopy. So everything but the second to the last one. Does everybody feel comfortable with those? Is there any conversation about those? Councilmember Roden? Okay. Then go to the next one. Oh, the technical ones. There we go. And so staff feels comfortable that they can deal with all of these. Does anybody have any issue with any specific? Member Mace?
these are very, very much detailed, and I think that Marcy and her team will work them out. I've got no problem with the technical content here. I think our challenge is going to be getting the wording on the first page that you showed correct.
Okay. Councilmember Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we have 16 items listed here in this outstanding technical issues. Marcy, you said you are comfortable working with them. Out of the 16, how many are them resolved already?
Revisit them, and some of them actually are going to be like conditions of the PD. Like the first one, they've agreed that they're going to do traffic impact analysis prior to plat. I mean, there's some of those that may carry on as a PD condition. Some of it's just additional detail. A lot of it's just a clarification and drafting issue. I don't have an exact number, but most of that's more drafting than major issues, and some of it is actually utility plans that we will actually see again when they come in to plat the property also. And I guess the biggest ones are PD conditions will be the traffic impact analysis, that they'll meet the landscape requirements, the list of variances to provide for the QT, and that each plan will come back through the public hearing process.
So the memo from Mindy is what saying the planning is not recommending this. These were the reasons, or what was the primary reason of not recommending?
Staff and Plan Commission did not recommend this because of, again, the landscaping, which has been resolved. Both staff and Plan Commission had concern about what this land use was at this corner and the implications for that for the rest of the development, as well as the technical issues. So, again, if council is comfortable with this as a land use at this corner, then that's a decision that you all have to make. And as was said by the council, staff and P&Z need to look at how this adheres to the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. Variances to that is y'all's purview to approve or not.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hill, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think it's
a detail. Yeah, I think things like that, when the detail plan is submitted for the four-story office, it shall include. It'll be more than words because obviously they haven't designed that yet because it's a 4 to 5, and so. But we'll go through them, one by one.
Councilmember Yingling.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate that I think we have a great opportunity here for the land use. I think it's a great land use. The fact that we're getting both corners developed by the same group of people working together, I feel like it's very cohesive. And I think we need to look at it as an opportunity because we don't know what could end up being there. So anyway, I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move to close the public hearing and approve item 12 with a number of conditions. First, that the conceptual plan clearly have a requirement that each parcel independently meets the city's landscape requirements. Secondly, in this list of variances, that we would grant each of these variances with the exception of the second to last dealing with window signage. And then that we would rely on our engineering and planning staff to work through items, whatever, 1 through however many there were there, 16. 1 through 16, to bringing this back as for final approval.
Is there a second? Oh, got a lot of them. Councilmember Hill. Any other questions or discussion? Councilmember Mays.
Marcy, could you please go back to the list of variances? The only item there was on the red. The way this is written, it says the red metal canopies are prohibited. So we probably need to include that we will allow them.
Good catch.
I would accept that amendment.
I would wordsmith that. And you all comfortable with the size of the sign?
Are you okay with that, Mark, as the second? Okay. Any other discussion?
Discussion about the size of the attached sign?
They're
We're
going to
okay with
approve
it.
it the way that it is there. Okay. Bijou, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Councilman-
I just, that's fine, thank you. I just want to understand what Gary said. Once we approve this today, what will happen? What's the next step? Marcy will go back and work with the client, applicant to resolve all these issues and come back to us again for final approval?
With the actual ordinance for us to approve.
So the project will not proceed without that ordinance passed. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Long, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, item 13. Open the public hearing and consider approval of an ordinance of the City of Coppell, Texas, readopting, ratifying, republishing, and extending Chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinances, Article 9 through 19, Youth Camp Program Standards of Care, and authorize the mayor to sign. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Mayor and Council, I'm Rachel Hardenman, and I'm the Recreation Coordinator. I oversee youth camps for Parks and Recreation. This item is routine in nature as an annual review process to be exempt from the state of Texas licensing for youth camps. Since we are exempt from that, we therefore follow standards of care that are set in place for municipal recreation programs. And just like previous years, nothing has changed on standards of care. Camp Do It All is a very successful program that we offer to ages 6 through 12 years old. We offer it 15 weeks out of the year. That's all of Coppell ISD breaks, such as summer, holiday, Thanksgiving, and spring break. Throughout those 15 weeks, we have around 1,600 campers that attend, and each one of those weeks is majority full, and each one of those weeks is highly sought after to attend. We have positive feedback from our community, and we are excited for another successful summer. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember
No questions,
Yingling.
just comments. My kids both did Camp Do It All when they were younger, now 22 and 26. And my son actually was he was a camp counselor at camp.
I was a counselor with him.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were? Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Very good. I'll tell him you said hi.
Okay.
Anyways, I just thank you for all your work that you're doing, and I think it's a great program.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing and approve item number 13.
Second by Councilmember Yingling. All in favor?
Long, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 14, consider approval of a resolution in support of the CBT Segment 3 Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program project for the Cotton Belt Trail and authorizing the mayor to sign. Welcome, Ms. Leach.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am here tonight to present information to you about two resolutions Related to the Cotton Belt Trail segments.
Can we consider them together?
Yes, that was my next statement. I would like to talk about items 14 and 15 together because they are related.
Well, let me read 15 into the record.
Ma'am.
So, consider approval of a resolution in support of a partial segment of CBT Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program project for the Cotton Belt Trail and authorize the mayor to sign.
Thank you. So as a refresher for any members of the audience who have not been involved with any of the previous discussions that we've been having, the council has been discussing and considering whether to move forward with 2 trail segments that are currently unfunded as part of the Cotton Belt Rail Project. The rail project itself has space earmarked within the rail corridor for the 12-foot pathway, the trail, that will run the entire length of the corridor from DFW Airport all the way over to Plano. Staff has provided updates and information as we know them at the time to both the City Council and to the Parks Board. And at this time, the direction that we have received is to proceed forward with a supplemental funding program called the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program to help us fund these unfunded segments of the trail that are located in Coppell. This is a federal program that is administered locally through the COG and the RTC, and it essentially provides an alternate funding vehicle for communities to fund transportation alternatives such as trails. As part of this application process, the city is required to include a resolution that identifies the local funding match. And in our situation in Coppell, we are proposing that our local match be covered by the transportation development credits. Those are credits that the city was awarded last year through COG's transportation policy bundles, and that is essentially a program that COG runs. It's regional for communities and other entities in the region that have policies in place that support regional transportation and sustainability. If you have so many of those policies in place, you can submit those and be eligible to be awarded these transportation development credits, which can be applied to any federally funded project. The city has prepared 2 applications for this program for funding. Our priority segment at this time is what we're calling CBT3, and so that is the segment of trail that begins at Southwestern and heads west towards Grapevine. We have confirmed that Grapevine is pursuing their segment CBT2 that matches up with our segment CBT3, and they are applying for funding through this same program, but it's in the Tarrant County side of the house. The estimated cost at this time for CBT3, total cost, is $2.2 million. We have prepared the application as an 80-20 split, and the local match for the city of Coppell at 80-20 is just short of $460,000. Again, that's not cash that's out the door. That would be our transportation development credits would be used in lieu of the cash. For the second application, that is representative of the partial segment that we identified that was part of CBT6. And the partial segment that we are applying for is the segment that starts at Mockingbird and heads east towards Carrollton to the Encore utility easement. It's about 2,200 feet. We are estimating that project cost to be about $560,000. Again, we are preparing an application that is an 80-20 split. The city's share of that would be $112,000. So altogether, both projects, the city share, we're looking at just over $571,000 that we would be contributing in the form of TDCs for our local match. The resolution that is included in your packets this evening, that is mostly a template of a resolution that COG provided to us that is part of that application process, with the exception of one piece that I want to bring your attention to, and that is Section 3. And in that section, that includes a maximum out-of-pocket amount for each one of those 2 segments that we are preparing an application for. And the reason why we have that clause in the resolution is because for this program, any of the construction costs that are above and beyond the final construction estimate, which for the purposes of the program, we've been told that it's at the 65% plan level. We are currently at 10% right now. And so there will be some changes between 10% and 65%. The Section 3 language is intended to protect the city in the event that there is a very large discrepancy from where we think the cost estimate is today versus where it ends up at the 65% level. And so that is why we have that in there. There's a lot of cost uncertainty, and this is really designed to help us manage that a little bit better. The maximum, the out-of-pocket maximum that we have identified for CBT3 is $120,000. That is about the same amount that we were talking the city would be responsible for had we moved forward with the 50-50 match. So that was the initial split that we were talking about, knowing that that would leave us with about $120,000 to fund in order to make that whole. The not to exceed amount for CBT6, the segment for CBT6 is $100,000, and we lowered that just a little bit based on the fact that that's a smaller project. In terms of what happens from here, assuming that council does want to move forward with the resolutions and approves those resolutions this evening, staff will move forward with finalizing the applications. Those applications are due on March 1st, so we do have a hard deadline there in terms of when we have to submit those. COG and the RTC will go through several rounds of evaluations to continue winnowing down the list, knowing that they're going to have more applications than they have funding. They are anticipating having a final list of projects that will be awarded through the program in June of 2019. I am optimistic that by that point, the design will have progressed to a point that we have a more complete idea of what the costs may be. At this point, I'll open it up to any questions that the council may have related to moving forward with the resolutions.
Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you remind us, Ms. Leach, the approximately 500,000 plus that would be our 20% from both these segments? How does that compare to the credit available to us from the Transportation Alternatives Set-Aside Program?
So the transportation development credits that we have available today that can be used for our match, we have, so last year we were awarded 1.5 credits. That's about equivalent to $1.5 million. If you'll recall, back in the summer, council passed a resolution to use 0.5 of those credits for the critical segment of segment 4, which is the elevated crossing over South Beltline. That leaves us 1 credit, so essentially close to $1 million. So we will actually have a little bit of credits left over once we make it through. If we are awarded for both of those, we would still have some transportation development credits available.
And did you say that Grapevine is also submitting for the 80-20?
I don't know what their split is. I do know that they are moving forward with an application.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve items number 14 and 15.
Second by Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Long, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Item 16. Consider approval to enter into a contract with Quality Excavation Ltd. for the reconstruction of Parkway Boulevard from Hertz Road to Lodge Road and other specific repairs and improvements between Denton Tap and MacArthur Boulevard in the amount of $6,515,332.45 plus $300,000 for a milestone incentive for a total of $6,815,332.45 as provided by the quarter-cent sales tax, IMF, and CRDC funds and authorize the city manager to execute any documents. Mr. Collins, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to begin my presentation with a little bit of a story of what's happened on this project since Thursday. Council is probably aware, but so anyone who may be interested in watching can catch up as well. I'll move ahead to a revised or proposed revised caption. We opened bids on Parkway Thursday afternoon. Typically, we'll take a couple of weeks to evaluate bids and get them, but we had an opportunity to hit this meeting as long as we were familiar with the bidders, the contractors that submitted bids. We had 3 bidders that we were familiar with that have done work in Coppell recently. We opened those bids. We looked at them. The low bidder was a contractor that just did Town Center Boulevard reconstruction recently, Quality Excavation. We're familiar with them. We looked at their bid. We saw it was low, but they submitted the bid. We were proceeding to, as the agenda was written and the caption indicated, we were proceeding to propose award to Quality Excavation. They notified us yesterday that they wanted to withdraw their bid. They noticed material mistakes in their bid that accounted for the price difference in what they bid and what the next low bidder, Tissio Paving, submitted. So we're here tonight recommending award to Tissio as the second low bidder. You may wonder, well, are we okay from an advertising, from an open meetings perspective? My first call was to our attorney, and he assured me we were good there. Talked to Crystal, she confirmed. So I'm comfortable that from a meetings and noticing perspective, we were in good shape. That said, I will back up a bit and go through what this project will do for Coppell. The scope of the project, the pink area, and we did provide, or I provided an update back in January, so some of these slides will be very familiar to you. The pink area are areas that will not be fully reconstructed, but that we have identified. There's panels that need to be replaced, crack sealing needs to be done, need to do some level up, things like that. So more heavy maintenance type activity. The yellow area is full replacement. That's from Hertz to Lodge. And then there's a small segment between Lodge and Moore that on the northern edge will be reconstructing a bit to bring the curb line in to create space for the sidewalk and side path. We will be replacing sidewalk along the south side of the road, 6 feet in most areas. We have some pedestrian easements that we need to get from homeowners, and if we can get those, we'll do 6 feet along the whole stretch. If we cannot, we'll just replace that with the 4 to 5 feet that's there today. As the solution that was reached for bikes and peds on the north side was the 8-foot side path, and that will be installed between Hertz and Moore. And then we have water line, sewer line, storm drain throughout the project that we'll be replacing. I will quickly step through this slide. We've got cross sections at 5 different locations here. This just shows a 4-lane section, raised median, the 8-foot side path on the north side, and the 6-foot on the south. This segment B, or the cross section B, shows the same thing but with a turn lane. This cross-section is just east of Enclaves, and it shows where we have gone. There's 1 lane westbound east of Enclaves, so the second lane for westbound traffic picks up at the Enclaves intersection in that location. So This cross-section shows the 1 lane westbound, 2 lanes eastbound. Same here. And then this is the most eastern. This reflects the reconstruction of that northern lane to create the space for the 8-foot side path on the north side. Potential concerns, things we'll have to deal with, traffic management. I'll talk a little bit about milestones that we've included in the bidding to help us with some of that traffic management. So the contractor will not be able to take down 2 lanes of traffic until the end of this school year. The first milestone, which is to shift traffic to the first 2 lanes that are completed, hits at the end of summer. So they have about 2.5 to 3 months to finish the first 2 lanes of paving. So when we get into the next school year, drivers will be on new pavement. They'll be on this 2 new southern lanes, but it will be still 1 lane in each direction. There's just not enough time in there to have that. So the biggest concern traffic-wise will be really kind of the fall and through Christmas, the holiday season. You'll have 1 lane in each direction for that time period. Parking, people who are able to park on Parkway today will be able to park on Parkway when we're finished. While we're rebuilding it, parking will not be available on Parkway. We are opening up or making available to residents that park on Parkway today the option to park in some of the spaces at Andy Brown Playground. So if someone had an event at their house, they needed extra parking, they could make use of that. Don't expect many people will park there on a daily basis. And then, as I highlighted during the update, we are constructing a left turn lane for City Hall. Does not exist today, has not existed. It's needed from a safety and traffic flow perspective, and we're adding that as part of this project. We'll quickly walk through, and I know the council has heard this previously, but we do a lot of different types of projects, but when it's a roadway project of this size and this nature, we have to use the design bid build process. So we hire an engineer through a qualifications-based process. They do the design. During that design, we review it. And then we advertise it once the plans are complete, plan specifications are complete, we'll advertise it for bids. We receive sealed bids. They're opened. Again, that happened last Thursday for this project. We'll check references, insurance, bonds, et cetera, and we award to the lowest responsible bidder. In this case, it would be the second lowest bidder, Tissio. We use unit price bidding to ensure that we can compare apples to apples. And in fact, when we looked at the bids, there were a couple of items that jumped out at us that raised some concerns that Quality Excavation missed their bid. I will tell you, when they called me to withdraw their bid, they said their estimator just completely missed it. They, particularly on the utilities, they had bid 16-inch water line at a lower price than 8-inch water line. They had not bid hardly any money for temporary paving. Most of the utility work's going to happen in the first few months of work, and we will need, and they will need, to utilize the temporary paving pay item to provide a good riding surface. So those were the big items that were missed. We did on this project use A+B bidding. We will implement liquidated damages if they do not meet the milestones. If they beat the milestones, they will get incentives and penalties. We use milestones to influence the outcome as well as the schedule. I should mention or define what A+B bidding means. A is the base bid, so it's the value of construction. B is the value of the time. So we ask the bidders to bid how much time it will take them to complete the project. and then we assign a value per day. On Parkway is $1,000 per day. Tissio bid 365 days, so their B portion was $365,000. And all that information is in the bid tab, bid tabulation, which was included in the packet. The details and specifications we include in the bid package helps us manage the quality and the conduct of the project. So J. Volk and Associates, they were our designer for this project. They have a QA/QC process. When we evaluate our engineers for selection, we ask them to provide what is your QA/QC to ensure that they're doing that on their side. We review the plans at 30%, 60%, and 100%. We've used one of our other consultants, our other design consultants, to provide a third-party review. These are people that design roads like this every day, and they bring a fresh set of eyes to it. So something we might be familiar with, they would not, and they're just looking at it with a fresh set of eyes. We expect that the contractors review the plans before they bid. And then once we get into the project, we'll have engineers that are managing the project. Our inspectors will be on site every day inspecting the work. We have a testing firm to test for materials, and that's how we monitor the quality and the progress. So I'm going to very quickly get through this. Parkway was originally constructed back in the 1980s, early 80s, beginning in 1983. It was originally identified that we needed to do something with the pavement condition. It's actually in 2011, well, not 2014. The design contract was awarded in July of 2015, and it was put on hold promptly to discuss the pedestrian and bicycle facilities. We went through a number of meetings, and design work recommenced in March of 2018. Provided an update in January, and bids were opened last Thursday. The low bidder withdrew their bid. Next lowest bidder is Tissio Paving. The value is $7,361,912.50, and that includes a max incentive of $300,000. They bid 365 days for completion. If the contract is awarded tonight, we plan to have a neighborhood meeting before we mobilize, again, to let everybody who's going to be impacted. We'll reach out to the school district as well and invite them to the meeting so they know what to expect. It's going to disrupt, particularly the people that park along Parkway. It's going to disrupt them, their activities. It's going to disrupt traffic, so we want people to know before we start. We expect that Tissio would mobilize in late March or early April. They'll have 12 months to construct it. As I mentioned, the first permanent traffic, semi-permanent during construction traffic switch would happen after school is let out, and then the first paving milestone would hit before school starts back in the fall. And then this is the revised caption with Tissio and the revised dollar amounts. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Councilmember Roden.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Do we not require a bid bond from contractors?
We do, and we've looked at that. Because they withdrew their bid before we awarded it, it's considered really just a mistake in their bid, and we suggest allowing them to just withdraw their bid at no penalty.
Any other questions? Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve agenda item number 16. Okay. Consider approval to enter into a contract with the Tissio Paving Company for the construction of Parkway Boulevard from Hertz Road to Lodge Road and other specific repairs and improvements between Dendon Tap and MacArthur Boulevard in the amount of $7,061,912 plus $300,000 for milestone incentives for a total of $7.361912.50 as provided by 1/4 sales tax, IMF and CRDC funds, and authorizing the city manager to execute any necessary documents.
Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem Long, will you read that, please? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All in favor?
Long, Mays, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carried.
Thank you, and thank you very much. City Manager's report.
Mayor, just very quickly, just an update on Freeport. Paving on the bridge deck began this week. Asphalt base also began this week, and the section along Southwestern as you approach Freeport is also being worked on. So progress on Freeport finally is to our benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing, Mayor, is that our next meeting is not scheduled till March 26th.
Mayor and council reports. The Spring Music Series will be held on March 8th, March 22nd, from 9, not through, and. March 8th and March 22nd, from 7 to 9 at the Square at Old Town. Enjoy a night of music in Old Town under the stars. Bring your blanket or chairs, grab a bite to eat from local food trucks. Complimentary popcorn will be available courtesy of the Coppell Parks and Recreation. Any other council reports? Council committee reports. We have the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition. Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. This will be quick. DRMC is doing the same thing we are doing right now, and that's watching Austin closely. Our three goals are to protect funding that we received in the last couple of sessions for transportation projects, to lobby for additional funding because, frankly, the funding approved previously doesn't keep up with population growth, and then finally to continue to educate and re-educate our legislators that toll lanes and managed lanes are not the same thing.
Thank you. Woven Health Clinic, Councilmember Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Last month, Woven presented to 32 members of the MetroCrest Ministers Group, encouraging churches to create health ministries that focus on disease prevention, and it was well received by the ministers. They expanded their women's health program to have a gynecologist from UTSW on site at the clinic 1 day a week now. For 2018, the clinic saw over 2,500 patients for over 8,000 visits for an average of 3.2 visits per patient. Woven held their first two cooking classes at the clinic where over 40 people attended, and they were taught on how to create nutritious meals. The executive director would like to invite all the city council members and city staff to come by and see their newly completed clinic. And that's all I have.
Thank you. MetroCrest Services, Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. MetroCrest participated in a point in time in a homeless count in January. Excuse me. And this included Carrollton Farmers Branch, Addison, Coppell, and parts of Dallas. The count was carried out by volunteers. In Coppell, we had several citizens, members of our police and fire departments, as well as city staff go out and count. And much to the surprise of MetroCrest, we actually did find 2 individuals that were homeless living in Coppell. This will go into a bigger plan at a later date, and MetroCrest is coordinating with the Dallas County to see how to address this. Their big concern was the children that were living basically out of a home, and fortunately we had no kids in the high school here or in our school districts that were homeless, but the numbers were significant in some of the other areas. MetroCrest will be having its 14th annual Keyholder Breakfast on Thursday, March 28th, beginning at 7:15 a.m. And all are welcome to participate. And I have raffle tickets if anybody would like to try for a win to a trip to Cozumel. So please see me if you would like to purchase a raffle ticket. I think they were $100 a piece. So I'm sure you've received invites to the Keyholder Breakfast. Hope to see you there. And it is open for a fee to the public as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any public service announcements? Hearing none, we will recess, and we have one item left on our work session, and we will be back. Oh, wait, the time is 10:24. We will be back shortly. We adjourn work session at 10:46. There is no, there's no necessary action from executive session, and there's no other business to come before us. So we are adjourned at 10:47.